How many snaps did they run in the 14 personnel?
That's only for us.
100% of the snaps.
Welcome into Player Panic Week 4, presented by 14 Personnel. I am your host, Justin Wright. If you're not familiar with Player Panic, one, go check out the first two. But we're talking guys that have been struggling to start the year. And, how concerned are we here? Is it for real? Is it a fluke? What are we talking about? We got a panic meter, 1 to 5. That's fun, I guess. Let's just get into it. Number 1 on the list, Robby Anderson, a panic meter, full 5. If I could go higher, I would. 11 targets on the year, 55% of his yards coming on one play. And the only reason I'm not saying he's a full-blown cut is Christian McCaffrey's out, so the offense is going to shift and change, and targets are going to open up. Personally, I think those go to Terrace Marshall. He has the lower average depth of target. He, I think, is the guy that's going to populate a similar field as CMC, along with, Chuba Hubbard, maybe some Royce Freeman. But you have to hold Anderson just in case he sees an uptick, the next 2-3 weeks while we don't see CMC, potentially longer, heaven forbid. So you have to be terrified. He's a bust at ADP, no matter what, no matter when you drafted him, he's a bust. But you have a chance here to recoup some value, maybe get 1 or 2 big weeks, and then go and try to flip him after this. Number 2, Kenyan Drake, sitting at a 4 out of 5. And I'm panicked, not because he is not a usable fantasy player. And with the running back landscape, it's gross. He's a viable player, viable flex most weeks. But the whole appeal of Kenyan Drake was if Josh Jacobs were to go down, he was going to see, 15 to 20 touches and just be a great volume play at running back. That is not the case. He has yet to touch double-digit carries. Peyton Barber, without Josh Jacobs now for 2 weeks, has been the lead runner, again, not lead fantasy back that I want because I never want Peyton Barber. But Kenyan Drake just did not see that uptick. His role seems to be cemented on the offense, and he's going to need Peyton Barber to also go down in order to really get the value I think a lot of us thought he was going to have when he was being drafted. Right now, he's 10 to 12 touches a game. He's a low-end RB2 without Josh Jacobs, and that seems like the ceiling. So, again, I'm not panicked because he's a back-end RB2. It's because he doesn't have that elite ceiling I think that some people were hoping he was going to have if Josh Jacobs were to go down. Number 3 on the list, another running back here that it could not be worse. Cut Ronald Jones. Panic meter, 5. Panic meter, put it to 100. He is not rosterable. I cut him last week after week 2, and I don't regret it. He's got 60 yards. He hasn't topped 7 touches in a week. It's Giovanni Bernard. It's Leonard Fournette. Ronald Jones is only getting some rushing work. It's so bad. If you have him, cut him. I don't even care if you fill the roster spot with anybody. Just get rid of him. That's what you have to do here. Again, it's as bad as it could be for Ronald Jones right now. And now we got a little bit of positivity after a rough 3 there. We have Stefon Diggs. He has not been the Stefon Diggs we're used to as far as touchdowns, as far as yardage, all of it. It's just not working right now. I don't care though. He headlines our trade targets video along with some other wide receivers that are struggling. So go check that video out if you haven't. But he's seeing 10 targets a game. He is 5th in the NFL in targets right now with 31. I don't care that he hasn't, lived up to expectations. He's going to. You just target guys with volume. Stefon Diggs is a guy, if I can go and flip Brandon Cooks plus something for Stefon Diggs, I'm going to do that every time. I'm going to go and trade running backs. I'll trade Zeke for Stefon Diggs 1 for 1. I just want Stefon Diggs on my teams. This is probably the cheapest he's going to get, especially with a matchup against Houston, in week 4. So the boom game is coming. It has to be. The volume is too consistent for me to actually be concerned about him. And to close us out here, we got Diontae Johnson, my guy here, sitting at a panic meter on a 2. Again, I'd love to put him at a 1, but he's dealing with a knee. Again, we know he was a limited participant today, recording this Wednesday. So He's fine, but you have to be a little bit concerned about the offense as a whole. The Steelers' Big Ben is just completely broken. The offense is busted. Again, the reason it's not a 3 or a 4 or a 5 is he's seeing 11 targets a game. The first 2 games, he is the offense. It's him and Najee Harris. Those are the 2 you want. So I'm excited for Diontae Johnson. I'm actively trying to acquire him coming off of that injury. But there's a little bit of concern just because that offense is just so bad. He has to be a pure volume play, and it looks like that's what he'll be. But if something shifts, that's where the bottom could fall out. So that's the only reason he's up at a 2 and not a 1. All right, guys. That is a quick 5 players on the 14P panic meter. As always, subscribe to the channel, drop comments, questions, anything else you got, and I'll make sure to answer them when I can. And, follow the podcast account over on Twitter at 14P_fantasy. All right, guys. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next time.
How many snaps did they run in the 14 personnel?
That's only for us.
100% of the snaps.